Hey, thanks for making it to Veterans Info Tap. I'm glad you made it. The shutdown is over. There is an article now from the VA, a snapshot of what has transpired, where we're at. And look, it takes legislation to make things happen. And in that legislation is stuff for military and veterans. And I wanted to dive into it a little bit, share this with you, give you at least the insight of what has happened. The Senate passed their version, went to the House passed it, went to the president, signed into law. Here we are, we're open back up. Now, before we jump into it, I do want to throw on a special thank you to Joe H212, Joe H212. Thank you so much for the super comment, super chat thing. I really, really do appreciate your support very much. So this is an article, I guess we can call it an article, by on the American Legion's website, and I wanted to share it with you. It just came out November 13th, 2025, which actually is today. So depending on when you actually watch this, whatever. Just here it is. So the House passes legislation, which is where we're at now, went to the president, got signed. So here it says, House votes Wednesday night to reopen the federal government after the longest shutdown in U.S. history. And that has now passed. And in that, there was funds for the Department of Veterans Affairs and the Department of Infrastructure and the Defense Department infrastructure projects both got funded for a full year. Now, the passage of the legislative package in a 222 to 209 vote, which, and for those that don't know, I have a rooster. His name is Stan. We just wanted to get a few chickens to have some eggs. That's all, right? Hens. Anyway, we got them as little babies. One grew up faster than the others, and we thought, wow, she's the big one. And she's a he, and he is Stan, and sometimes he's closer than others. All right, so the passage of this legislative package in a 222 to 209 vote, which just is baffling to me that 209 congressional members basically said, nope, let's keep the government shut down. Anyway, so this was brought to a close, this 43-day congressional standoff over government funding that shuttered regional VA offices, suspended the GI Bill hotline, forced the Trump administration to shift around billions of dollars to pay troops. All right, so it says Democrats largely voted against the legislation, citing the lack of an extension of Affordable Care Act tax credits set to expire at the end of the year. Without an extension, an estimated 267,000 veterans will be priced out of health care coverage in 2026, according to an analysis by Urban Institute think tank. So with that, let's actually pull up VA healthcare options for folks. Not every veteran automatically qualifies. There's a bunch of nuance around it. So let's pull that up and we will talk about that. All right. So before I jump into how to get healthcare with the VA, let's just everybody, for whatever reason, they just say Affordable Care Act or tax credits, and they don't go any further than that. So again, in the article, what they say here is an extension of Affordable Care Act tax credits set to expire at the end of the year. Okay, that's really all they say. Okay, now what are those tax credits? It says enhance. So first of all, I said, what are the ACA tax credits that expire in 2025? The ACA tax credits that expire at the end of the year of 2025, they are the enhanced premium tax credits, which temporarily increased subsidies and expanded eligibility for those with incomes above 400% of the federal poverty level. All right, so enhanced premium tax credit. Okay, why were the enhanced premium tax credits for ACA, the Affordable Care Act, implemented? Enhanced premium tax credits for the ACA were implemented to lower health insurance costs and make coverage more accessible during COVID-19 pandemic. The pandemic is, I don't know. I mean, there's still people walking around with masks, but besides that, the actual pandemic aspect is over. So that's really where the rub, I think, is in Congress. Whether you agree, disagree, whatever, I think it's just important to understand what is actually being talked about. So again, I'm not here to say it's this side's right or this side's right. I'm just here to say this is what they're being talked about. Okay. They're talking about enhanced premium tax credits that were implemented during the COVID-19 pandemic, most likely under a temporary, obviously, because they're expiring, mindset through the pandemic. And what they do is they increase and expand eligibility for those with incomes that are above 400% of the federal poverty level. Okay, so now back to the think tank aspect. The think tank aspect of what they say 267,000 veterans will be priced out of healthcare coverage in 2026. Okay, so how can you qualify for VA healthcare? Okay, VA healthcare. So here are the options. Okay, there are quite a few different bullet points. Some are very, a very minimal amount of people will qualify through them. But let's read through it. So, in order to get healthcare from the VA, and if you're not quite sure if you fall in any of these, you should probably just pull in to one of the medical centers and say, hey, I'm veteran so-and-so. I just want to see if I qualify for healthcare, and let somebody there walk you through it. Don't self-segregate out. Don't just tell yourself, no, I don't qualify. Check and see. All right. So let's see. Now it says here, financial disclosure, only non-service connected and 0% non-compensable service connected veterans must complete this section to determine eligibility for VA healthcare enrollment and or care and services. So what they're talking about is essentially means testing. If you're making, $100,000 plus a year, then you wouldn't qualify simply based on means testing. But again, there's a whole slew of other ways. Okay. A way to qualify is being low or no income can get your foot into the door for VA healthcare. Okay, so now let's move on. Financial disclosure requirements do not apply to these. Okay, which means testing doesn't matter. You can make $500,000 a year, doesn't matter. Okay, financial disclosure requirements do not apply to. And here's all the bullet points on getting into the VA healthcare system. A former prisoner of war, or those in receipt of a Purple Heart, or a recently discharged combat veteran, or those who served in a toxic exposure risk activity, TERA, or those discharged for a disability incurred or aggravated in the line of duty, or those receiving VA service-connected disability compensation. So you're getting a 10% rating or higher, you can get access to the VA healthcare system. Those receiving VA pension. Now, VA pension is not VA retirement. VA pension is a veteran and or surviving spouse benefit. And it is a safety net benefit for low and no income veterans and surviving spouses. In other words, it's a means tested financial benefit. If you qualify for pension, you're going to qualify for healthcare. So now moving on to the next one. Or those in receipt of Medicaid benefits, or those who served in an Agent Orange exposure location, or those who served in Southwest Asia during the Gulf War between August 2nd, 1990 and November 11th, 1998, or those who served at least 30 days at Camp Lejeune between August 1st, 1953 and December 31st, 1987. Okay, those are the bullet pointed. If you meet any of these, you can go get health care from the VA. All right. Now, very important. And again, don't self-segregate out. If you're not quite sure if you qualify, go have the conversation with somebody there at the VA. All right. So jumping back into the article here. All right. So we were at the think tank part with 267,000 veterans that they were saying would be priced out of coverage. So moving on. President Donald Trump signed the legislation Wednesday night, ending the shutdown. Senate Majority Leader John Thune committed to holding a vote on the expiring health care subsidies in December. Because again, they don't, and this was my thing. Why don't we keep the government going? Because the things don't even expire until the end of the year. So let's do a continuing resolution, keep the ball moving, and let's address that as we get closer, if that's a really big sticking point. The funding deal includes a stopgap appropriations bill to fund the government through January 30th, as well as three full year spending measure, including one for the VA and a small portion of the Pentagon budget that funds the modernization of facilities and construction of service member and family housing. The bills uphold our nation's promise to our veterans, empower their lives out of uniform, strengthen quality of life for our military families, and support the infrastructure of bases across the globe, said Republican Representatives Tom Cole of Oklahoma and John Carter of Texas in a joint statement. The legislation allocates $153 billion in discretionary funding for defense infrastructure programs, as well as the VA, with $133.2 billion designated for the VA and $19.7 billion for military construction. Another $263.7 billion is provided for veterans benefits. The total of $167.7 billion is earmarked for veterans medical care, including $52.6 billion for the VA's Toxic Exposures Fund to help veterans who were exposed to burn pits, Agent Orange, and other toxic substances. The Defense Department, or the defense part of the bill, contains $1.9 billion for military family housing, $1.3 billion for the construction of barracks and other unaccompanied housing, and $1.3 billion for hospitals, schools, child development centers, fitness centers, dining facilities, and mess halls. It allocates $7 billion for the construction and modernization of military infrastructure critical to warfighter readiness, such as training ranges, maintenance and logistic facilities, storage warehouses, munitions facilities, and airfield control towers. Another $2 billion would pay for infrastructure for new and emerging technology, such as next generation hangars to support advanced weapon platforms, and $482 million would cover the U.S. share of NATO construction projects. The legislation notably invests $1.5 billion in the Navy's shipyard infrastructure optimization program to modernize the services for public shipyards in Virginia, Maine, Washington State, and Hawaii. Trump has stressed the need to revitalize American shipbuilding to compete with China, who is, that's all they do, is just build ships. Outside of construction, Defense Department spending levels will remain unchanged through January, though lawmakers added several provisions in the stopgap funding bill to give Pentagon more spending flexibility. I have a rooster. His name's Stan. For those that can hear him. I hope to God, actually, that you guys can hear it, because I do. And sometimes I actually question, did I hear him or did I not? So anyway, one adds $400 million for the continued development of production of the E-7 wedge-tail radar jet that the Air Force had wanted to cancel. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth told lawmakers this summer that the early warning plane was not survivable. The end of the government shutdown will bring back a slew of services for veterans. Since October 1st, service members leaving the military have not been able to access transition assistance services, and veterans have not had access to VA regional benefits offices, career counseling, and the GI Bill hotline. Grounds maintenance and permanent headstone placement in national cemeteries had also been paused, which that part really just always bothers me. Thousands of workers at the VA and Pentagon either worked without pay or were furloughed for 6 weeks. The legislation passed Wednesday guarantees back pay for all of them and rehires federal employees who were laid off during the shutdown. With that, thanks for watching. I appreciate you very much. Have a great one. And remember, if we don't take care of each other, something went wrong.